Live. Hey, everybody, welcome in. Um, I'm Pete. I'm the baseball nerd. Um, we have no name. We have no format. We have no idea if this works. What we do have is a lot of opinions, some numbers, and a comment section that gets to decide what this becomes. So stick around. However this goes, you will be part of history. Imagine how weird it would be if it worked out, right? So this guy over here is the Shea Hello newsletter. He covers the Mets and puts out some great stuff every day that really can't be missed. Shea Hello, man.
Say hello. How are you doing, baseball nerd?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I appreciate you doing this. This is going to be fun. This is something new. And I'm excited to be here.
I am as well. I'm looking forward to this, to our right now no name show, um, which is kind of fun and a little nerve wracking, if you will, where obviously anybody who is on this right now can comment on whatever they want of what they think would be our show name.
Absolutely. And you guys out there in the comments, in the crowd watching this, comment what you think this show should be called. Whoever comments or whichever name is commented the most or agreed by most will be the name of the show. This is something that you guys get to own and you get to be part of from the jump. We're a minute into this thing, so let us know what you think this show should be called. First off, who are we? Why do we matter? Say hello. Tell me who you are.
My name is Casey. I am not actually birthed by my parents of the name Shay Hello. um, I'm originally from New York and grew up a diehards Met fan, as most people could tell by the name, Shea Stadium. And I built Shay Hello 3 years ago, started the newsletter basically in February of this year, and named it after my late dog, Shay, who was named after Shea Stadium. And just been a diehard baseball fan my whole life. Worked in baseball as a broadcaster for over 10 years in the minor leagues. Um, and, I enjoy what I do, writing Monday through Friday. We publish at midnight daily. It's a weekday publication and mostly Met Talk, but we are expanding as per this podcast will show you, where it won't be all Mets talk or, anything goes.
I love it, man. I
What
love it.
about you, sir?
That's fantastic. So again, my parents didn't name me baseball nerd. They might have, but that's actually not on the birth certificate. My name is Pete Dwyer. So I have been a lifelong baseball fan. I have been a fan of a lot of different teams, a lot of different players, and it's kind of morphed into what I like to do is really just dig into numbers. So I'm a data analyst. I'm a nerd. It just kind of made sense. Ironically, this just kind of happened this way. Today is my 1 year anniversary of being on Substack. It's been an amazing ride. I've got to meet a whole lot of great people. I've gotten to do a whole lot of cool things and talk to a lot of great people. And this has been really a lot of fun. This kind of opens up another opportunity for me, for us to have another way to deliver what we want to say. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about, right? Um, I've gotten to develop some pretty cool stats of things that are on my own that actually work. And we can kind of get into that a little bit here as we go on. But ultimately, what I do here, and I think what we both do, quite honestly, is build a community. And it's build a community of people that love the game and want more out of it than just what the box score tells you or what the talking heads on ESPN tell you. So, but again, super happy to be here. Really excited to be doing this with you, Casey. And let's see where we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for this first episode. And again, if you're just joining us, we see many people are tuning in as this show unravels. Comment on whatever you like if you have a question. But also, as Pete mentioned earlier, we are allowing our community baseball friends to name the show. This is not a one-time podcast live podcast show. It's reoccurring. We have our first suggestion from Cardinals Corner. I see the pennant race.
I'm not mad about it.
I don't hate it, not at all. So thank you for that, Cardinals Corner. And yeah, questions in the comment section. And again, you can name our show.
Absolutely, guys. And honestly, this is a chance for you guys to really just be in the same time with us. So it's not, we're not going back and forth on messages and we're not doing that. If you've got questions, especially on like the stuff I do, like the spark score, the fade score, you got Mets questions, and ask them, throw them in the comments. We will stop whatever we're doing and answer those. That's what we want to have here, is just build that community. So to kick things off, right? Everybody loves the fresh stuff and the hot takes and all that kind of craziness, right? And I've been saying this for a couple months now. Actually, I started saying it in the beginning of the year. I think the A's have something special, and the A's are going to be competing for the AL West division in late September. That's mine. And I believe that. I see what happens with this squad, and I see what happens with these hitters they've got, and I'm super excited to see what the A's do in September.
Yeah, the A's are an interesting team. The one thing I can't figure out, and it's simple, it's they're playing at the weirdest ballpark ever. They're not in Oakland, as we know. And if there's any A's fans watching, my condolences, but they're playing in Sacramento, and the ball just travels differently there. And so they're actually, their home record is worse than it is on the road. I know they just were in Vegas, obviously, for that like 7-game stretch, but I can't figure out whether to trust this team or not trust this team because of that ballpark, where it's almost like a AAA. It is a AAA ballpark. And whether I take the offensive numbers seriously or the pitching numbers seriously, it's all affected because of what happens, so to speak, as like a Coors Field. The elements play a part in me believing in them.
Yep. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I can't argue with that. Now, I do want to get into this comment really quick from Right Field Porch. Just how bad is the American League? It's a dumpster fire full of empty cans of gasoline that just keep exploding. The American League is terrible. It's an absolute trash fire right now. That's my opinion. I see it every day. I'm a Rangers guy. I've been a Boston guy. I've been all those things. I kind of follow Nate Eovaldi around, to be quite honest with you, because Nate's an absolute dog and I love the guy. But yeah, the American League, I think, is a dumpster fire. Casey?
Yeah. It's top heavy, I would say, and the rest, I would agree with you, Pete, that it is a dumpster fire. You have a lot of parity with teams that are barely over 500. There, you have the top teams. You have your Yankees, you have your Rays, the NL West. Obviously, no one's running. The AL West, I should say, nobody's running away with it. And then the AL Central. I mean, you got the White Sox and the Indians, who are basically 500 teams. So,
And tied.
yeah, yeah, they're virtually a virtual tie as we speak. So, yeah, it's not good.
No, I agree. What's your burning thing that you're just dying to talk about?
Uh, well, I thought about this one, and then obviously I don't want to go the Mets route. So I thought about this hard, and I'll tell you why I'm choosing to talk about the Baltimore Orioles. Um,
I like it.
Pete Alonso is a former Met. There's your tie-in. Pete Alonso obviously was the biggest, most popular, and not arguably the greatest power hitter in Mets franchise history, and now he's on the Baltimore Orioles. So I've been watching a lot of Baltimore Oriole games. I don't like to miss Pete Alonso at bats. So there, in fact, I'm watching, like last night at 10 o'clock, they're playing the Angels, in a Orioles Angels game. And my hot take is they're 38-42 currently as we talk right now. And since the AL is such a dumpster fire, as you say, and because of the wild card now allowing 3 wild card teams, they're like 2 games out of the wild card race for that last and final third spot, just like your Rangers are like right there a game out. So they're there. They can easily go on a run. This is why these new rules were made for teams to be around 500 and still have a chance and get their fan base excited. So, what I see from the Orioles, Pete Alonso aside, who's, by the way, has a major reason why they're probably doing much better than they probably should be, considering some injuries and lack of production, is they're getting contributions from some guys that we did not think they would be getting contributions from. Plays out Alexander, who unfortunately just got injured. I don't know how serious it is right now. Um, but he's been on fire, hence, I don't, good pun, Blaze. And, their starting pitching was a major concern coming in. But then you had Brandish yesterday strike out, I believe, 9 or, he struck out a lot, looked great. Shane Baz is going today. He's had a great year. And then you just got veterans. I know he's hurt, Chris Bassett. He's an innings eater that can give you quality innings. Um, and they just have a very talented group, and I just like their chemistry. They're scrappy, they're young, they got a great fan base behind them, and there's something about the Baltimore Orioles that I just like.
No, I couldn't agree more with you on that one, honestly. Baltimore Orioles have a guy from the Rangers by way of Seattle last year in Leody Taveras, and Leody Taveras is doing things that he never did for the Texas Rangers. Um, hitting hitting in situations, playing small ball, doing great things. And you talking about Shane Baz going today? He's got a 4 ERA over
Yeah,
89 innings. I mean, you can't complain about that when you got a roster construction like the Orioles did. So I think that's actually a really great. I think that's a really great take.
yeah.
I really
I would keep my eyes on the Orioles. They're right there like the Rangers, and the AL is wide open. So I got my eyes on them for a lot of reasons.
no. I think that's a great. I think that's a great point. You brought it up a little bit earlier, and just kind of talk about it really quick with the White Sox. The White Sox, and especially the Guardians, virtual tie on top of the AL Central. Um, they've got a run differential -3, which is pretty incredible, but they're winning close games, and that's what matters. And we saw it last night when it's the dead last part of the game, and they're just doing everything that they can do to put that run together. Are they a real team, or is this an open division?
It's definitely an open division, but I think it's a 2-team race. It's them. It's the White Sox and the Guardians. You know, the Twins have won, or I believe are they're selling no matter what. So forget them. The Rangers, who are awful, have miraculously, I believe, won 7 of their last 10 out of nowhere. But they're going to be selling most likely. So it's a 2-team race, in my opinion. To answer the question, the White Sox, uh, can I get behind them? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they got some good rookies on that team. The White Sox were the worst team in baseball forever. I mean, the Rockies are right there, but you have Muragami, who's on the IL, who was tearing up the league as the rookie Japanese slugger until he got hurt. He'll be back, and then you have Antonacci.
Mhm.
Sam, he's been tearing it up as a rookie. His numbers are absurd. Just nobody talks about him as a rookie. He's come out of nowhere. And then you have guys in the rotation that are, putting up respectable ERAs that you wouldn't expect. And journeyman guys too, like Anthony Kay, I believe, got the win yesterday. And then you have Eric Fetty, I believe, who's now on the White Sox. Like, these guys have been around forever, but they're putting up pretty good numbers. And, I just, and also, the biggest point about the White Sox, they spent money for the first time this offseason, and it's paying off. They made the right decisions, and they're going to be buying at the deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already made that case. So that's my opinion on the White Sox. For me, thumbs up. They're for real.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I agree with you. I think they're doing something special, and I really like what Will Venable's doing. We got to see Will Venable when he was here in Texas. He got us to the 23 World Series. He did. And it was his kind of management of the games while he was the bench coach and just doing the things that really brought that Texas Rangers team into contention and ultimately winning the entire World Series. So the eye test, what's up, man? Thank you for joining. Hey, all you guys out there, if you're in the comments, you're on the chat, give us an idea of what our name's going to be for this show. We have no idea what we're doing. We don't have a name suggestion. We've got one for the pennant race. That's what we've got. You guys out there, let us know what you think the name for this show should be. This is going to be something that continues on. So, going to the Athletics, I talked about them a little bit earlier. The eye test, the Sox and the A's are legit wild card teams that if they get hot can scare some. I agree. They can scare some established ball clubs. We've seen it happen.
Yeah.
The A's have beat the Dodgers, right? The mighty Dodgers. And you know,
Yeah.
what do you see in that?
Yeah, we just talked about the A's and obviously the Sox. AL's just a dumpster fire, and I could see either one of them sneaking into the playoffs any which way, winning a division or a wild card and making noise, you know? We just talked about how the White Sox will be buying. Not sure about the A's, but they've spent a lot of money also. I mean, these are two teams that were not spending money and they have, and it's working. So yes, they can definitely make some noise.
Steven, who will be the biggest buyer in the AL West at the trade deadline? In the AL West, I would say it's going to be DePoto up in Seattle.
Always is.
Yeah, that's going to be my bet. I think that's the safest. The Rangers are going to be sellers. The A's are probably not going to buy. They might do a pitcher
Yeah.
depending on where they're at. But I mean that's Fisher, and I just don't know if that's going to be something that we see happen.
I'll second that. Jerry DePoto isn't his nickname, Gunslick Jerry or whatever it might be. I mean, he's known to make the most trades of any president of baseball operations, GM, whatever his title is now that he's been there so long. I mean, the guy's made more trades than anybody over his tenure over in Seattle. So, in my mind, no question about it. The Mariners are the ones going to be all over the deadline.
Yeah, I agree. And you look at what they did last year when they went all in on Eugenio, and they did. I mean, it was just crazy what they were doing at the deadline last year. They got a taste of it. I don't think that they want to let go of it right now.
No, and look how far they went last year. Like you just said, they got a taste of it. They went as far as you could up until, what was it? The ALCS,
Yep.
Um, you don't want that taste and then not try to get back there. So, Mariners are always going to be there. Their record doesn't really indicate maybe what they are or could be, but that's where Jerry DePoto comes in. We got another virtual concourse name. I just saw it from Right Field Porch as a name for
I love
the
it.
to be named show.
The to be named show. Scoops is in the house. When do you think we see Kate Anderson? Oh, um,
Yeah, good question.
that's a great question. I would hope soon. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. That's something that I think is on a lot of people's mind. I know it's on the front office mind. Um, and I know it's on the fans' minds. Seeing the Twitter going back and forth. Yeah, they definitely want Kate Anderson, and I hope it's soon. I do hope it's soon.
Yeah, I echo what you say. I don't have an answer to that because I don't think anybody has an answer right now, and that's why it's a fascinating question.
Yeah. Um, the bleacher section. I like that. I like that. Does Andrew Friedman go after a rental like Tarek Skubal or somebody longer term like Alcantara? Um,
I didn't see that question, but that is a great question.
that's from the eye test, and that is a great question.
Well, can you repeat the
Friedman,
questions because I missed it? It was Skubal to the Dodgers.
does Andrew Friedman go after a rental like Tarek Skubal or somebody longer term like Sandy Alcantara? I don't think Friedman would go long term
No, no.
right now. I don't think he would do that. Um, Does he go short term for the expense of what he's going to have with Skubal? That's going to be an expensive play, both in money and in prospects. I don't know if they want to do that. That would be a very interesting trade.
I mean, the front. If we're talking straight up, is Skubal being traded? Yes. Who would
Yeah.
be the front runner for a Skubal right now? The Dodgers. Because they're the Dodgers. That's my opinion. You can't count them out. They're always there. It's usually them or the Padres that seem to just be all over. With prospects that are just endless that they can trade. And you know how the Dodgers roll. They find their ways. And, um, yeah, Skubal's going to be traded. And I would choose, if I had to pick one at this moment, the Dodgers would be the ones to grab him. Who in the world would not want to be a three-peat champ, And Glass now is on the IL. They don't know when they're going to get him back. They've suffered through injuries. And, why would you not do whatever you can to trade for arguably the best pitcher in the league? Yes, he's been hurt, but he's Skubal.
And the eye test, that isn't his MO in the postseason, but the Dodgers do have the prospect capital deal for him long term. OKC is stacked, and Emmett Sheehan is pitching himself into trade bait. And you're absolutely right. Emmett Sheehan is pitching himself into trade bait. The money's obviously not the problem for the Dodgers. I just don't know if I don't know where Tarek Skubal fits in that rotation, because the Dodgers are doing what the Dodgers do, right? Everybody's unhealthy, everybody's hurt, and then magically come about August, everybody's okay. And Blake Snell's going to be back, and Glasnow's going to be back, and Shohei Otani's going to be Shohei Otani all of a sudden, because that's what they do, right? They throttle these guys down, and in August they kind of start ramping up and they start getting ready for the postseason. Does Skubal fit into that rotation? Does Skubal fit into that locker room? There's a lot happening there, and I think that's a big question that you'd have to ask. Money wise, prospect wise, yeah, they've got the capital,
Yeah.
but does it make sense for the club to get to that next level? Because 3 is going to be hard to get.
Yeah. They have the money. Obviously, you have to keep in to consideration the lockout in the CBA, looming on December 1st. That is an X factor that no one knows what will happen at the deadline, because this is different. But, will he be extended? I have no idea. Whether it be in the best interest of Skubal to try to get it done before, major rules and penalties might be in place for the next CBA. We don't know. Nobody knows. So, but, to put a bow on Skubal, obviously the Dodgers are right there. And there's other teams that don't necessarily have to afford him right now. It's all prorated. So it's just a matter of prospects.
Milwaukee Brewers were one that I had been seeing a lot in conversations about Skubal, and I thought that one was interesting. They have the trade capital to do it. They've got the people. I just don't know if they would be willing to pull that trigger, because that's a whole lot of personality with him and Miz.
They did it with CC Sabathia.
Yep.
But that was a long, long time ago, and things have changed. They're not the Brewers back of when, they traded for CC Sabathia. I don't see him going there. Would I be shocked? Yes. Could it happen? Of course. But, the Brewers and him don't seem like a match to me. But we have seen the Brewers, like I said, with CC Sabathia getting traded there and, making a big run.
Scoops, I like what you're saying. The Dodgers do that trade and they try to extend them and get ahead of everyone. I like that, unless, again, and we go back to that CBA talk, what happens when that thing goes sideways? And are the Dodgers, does that organization, does that ownership group want to pay what they're going to have to pay in fines if they go over by what they would go over? And I can't answer that question. I don't know. They seem willing to.
Yeah, never count out. My motto with the Dodgers for the last X amount of years is never count them out on anything. Anything, they defer everybody, they sign everybody, they trade for everybody. So, whenever it comes to the LA Dodgers, anything is on the table for them.
And the eye test kind of puts a really nice bow on that too. Look at it this way: in 24, the Dodgers went into the postseason with one starter. 25, they went into the postseason with no bullpen. Friedman and Roberts keep pulling Roberts out of their hats. Yeah, they do. Friedman and Roberts keep pulling Roberts out of their hats, and
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible.
Anyway, I just want to chime in because we're halfway through the podcast. Anyone has a name for our to be named later podcast? I guess we're the opener right now. We don't have a starting pitcher, so to speak, to put it in a baseball analogy. Drop a comment of what you think we should name our live podcast. That will be a reoccurring one, and the most voted, agreed upon, we will name it.
So to wrap it, or to kind of bring it into halftime, right? We've got the pennant race. We've got the bleacher section, the virtual concourse. I like that one too. I'm not mad about that. The pod to be named later.
I mean, I like that, but we're trying to not name it later. Like I get what the eye test is saying, but
That's I'm not mad about it.
yeah,
I'm not mad about it.
yeah.
Okay. So real quick, just to kind of run through one more thing on the Brewers. Say hello to the nerds. I'm I am not mad about that one bit. I
Are
really
you writing this down?
I'm keeping track of all of it. Trust
Okay,
me.
because we're getting some different ones, and they're all good. So
Yeah.
I like
Look,
shade hello to the nerds.
say
That works.
hello to the nerds. Not mad about that. Um,
Okay.
we talking about the Brewers really quick. They're at a plus 120 run differential. The best in the National League behind the Dodgers. The numbers are there. We need to put them more in the conversation. Maybe that Skubal trade does it. I'm not sure.
I mean, the Brewers are 17 games over 500 or 18, what it is right now. Um, I the Brewers had the best record in baseball last year. So
Yeah.
I take them seriously. Why in the world would I not? They have the best pitcher, arguably, in baseball. They have a lineup that doesn't quit. They got some really good hitters. They got a formidable bullpen. They've been the best in the league for a while for a reason.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Um, let's shift gears. Yeah, I test. Shea Nerd like a restaurant. Oh, that's classic. Actually, I'm Shea Nerd. I'm not mad about that either.
Okay.
I'm not Shea. I like it. Um, the Braves. Got to talk about the Braves, right? 48-29. They're running away with the NL East. Um, best team in baseball.
The Braves,
Yep.
they're right there. I mean, the record is what it is. So, I mean, you could argue yes and no. Um, I think the better question, and that's a great question. The better question is, do I believe the Braves can win it all? I mean, they're running away. They're winning the NL East. That's a foregone conclusion. They're gonna. The question is whether they're gonna have a bye. And that plays a lot into everything in the postseason. But I guess to answer the question, do I fully believe they're the best team in baseball? The Mets have only played them once, which is ridiculous considering they are rivals in the same division. So I haven't seen much of them. But from all intents and purposes, I don't even think I think they're underachieving right now, and they have these numbers and this record. I think they actually could be better. Look at all the injuries that the Braves have. All the setbacks. Acuna's on the IL as we speak. They lost Swellenbach. And they've had a rash of injuries, and yet they're the best team in baseball. Are right there. You know.
And Thomas brings up a really great point. What non-contact injury will Acuna get this year that will raise eyebrows? And I think that's a completely legitimate point. He gets as many non-contact injuries as Corey Seager gets, and it's got to be frustrating. I don't know, and I'll be honest with you. I said this on another pod about a week ago. I don't know that the Dodgers go to the World Series this year. They'd have to. They'd have to get better in close and tight games. I've seen what Atlanta can do in close and tight games, and I like where they're at. I like where Milwaukee's at from that standpoint because the Dodgers just don't seem to have that close and late come through clutch that these other guys do.
Are you talking about the back end of the bullpens
I'm
comparing?
talking back end of the bullpens. I'm talking about the hitters. I'm talking about playing small ball and doing the things that need to be done. The Dodgers rely on the flash and the slug,
Yeah.
and the Braves and the Brewers are not relying on that. And when you get into those close and late situations, when you're talking about that clutch kind of hit, these are the things that these guys are doing.
The only thing I like about the Braves more than I like about the Dodgers is the back end of their bullpen. You know, with Suarez and Iglesias as um, the setup man and the closer. The Dodgers have missed Edwin Diaz all year. Tanner Scott is a wild card. They've used multiple closers. You know, the Dodgers don't have that guy. It was supposed to be Edwin Diaz. He got the surgery. He's going to be back probably in August, and we'll see how he does. But right now, bullpens is what really wins you games in the World Series or in the playoffs. I mean, what's the great quote by the Hall of Fame pitcher Bob Lemon? It's like the only two things I need in life are good friends and a great bullpen.
Yep.
You know, and you know bullpens when in the playoffs, it pitching and that's the bullpen. Pitching and defense wins you games when the better teams are playing, and that's what the Braves have. So, not to dismiss the Dodgers, they're the first team, I believe, 250 wins, but you know the Braves have a great back end of the bullpen.
I would argue the Dodgers are still the most fundamentally sound team in baseball. The Brewers would be next. Both teams play catch, they execute.
Can't argue.
Cut off those. I can't argue with it. I
No,
can't argue. I can't argue with it from the standpoint of when things are going well for the Dodgers, they go really, really well.
yeah,
When things don't, they seem to lose track of fundamentals. Those are the games that I've seen. I have not watched every Dodger game. I've watched a lot of them because I'm up late and they're on, so it kind of makes sense. But I've just seen a, a just a piece of it missing with the close and late stuff. Um, so I got a question for you, Casey.
sure,
The Mets are 34 and 43. They're 14 games back, and you cover them every day.
I do.
How do you do what it is that you do and stay relatively positive?
I wouldn't call it positive because that would not be believable. I'm realistic. You know,
Okay.
my newsletter Monday through Friday, you know, published at midnight is I look at myself as a voice for the voiceless, you know, who are not writing, and I'm not just tweeting and venting, you know, and putting out 1,000 tweets. You know, I how I guess your question is how am I sane is better because positive is very tough right now to be a Met fan. Let's take away you know, covering them for a second. Speaking as someone who's zooming out, the Mets are 9 games under 500. They have the highest payroll in baseball. You know, put the Dodgers aside with their deferred money. Fine, they're second highest paid. They're underachieving, and it's David Stearns. You know, we can point to injuries. Fine. Francisco Lindor has been hurt since April 22nd. Fine. Clay Holmes has a right fractured fibula. Okay, those are major injuries, but we just talked about it. The Braves have major injuries. The Dodgers have major injuries. You know, there are many teams that have injuries and you just overcome them. The thing with the Mets is that they're not, and I just wrote a newsletter on this on Monday about how David Stearns poorly constructed this team, and I went all into it on exactly what he did. You know, short-term deals is kind of like these guys are just passing through and they're not you know, they're just bets, you know, and seeing if it works out. No long-term contracts. You know, David Stern's gutted the entire team and the coaching staff. Um, it's very, you know, positive. I'm not positive. I'm realistic. And right now, my today's newsletter, and you can subscribe and read it. It's out there as we speak right now. Um, is all about the Mets have 20 games in the next 20 days. That leads right up to July 13th, which is the All-Star break.
Yep.
These next 20 games in 20 games in 20 days is going to tell you everything you need to know. Now, the Mets need to go on a run. They can't just be happy right now with winning a series or back-to-back series. They have to legitimately go on a 10-1 streak. I mean, they dug themselves in such a big hole in April with that 12-game losing streak. They've treaded water since April 22nd. You know, that's the day Lindor got hurt. You know what their record is? 26-27. They're hovering around 500.
Yeah.
So they're actually worse a day. They're not making up ground, is my point.
Yeah.
So today, in a half an hour, Mets, Cubs, Edward Cabrera against Kodai Senga. It starts right there. For the Cubs, they need to win too. They're hot and cold. They third in the wild card race right now, but they have wiggle room. The Mets, they do not. They need to go on a run, and I'm talking next 20 games, straight up into the All-Star break. It's crazy to say, but they dug themselves this hole, 15-5.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, but that's what they have to do.
It's a stretch. It's a stretch. If they catch the Cubs cold, who's next for them after the Cubs? I don't
Well,
have it.
after the Cubs, guess who's back? The Phillies.
Ooh.
They just played the Phillies last weekend, and we know what happened. They were outscored 21-5 on Saturday and Sunday. Schwarber hit 4 billion worth of feet of home runs, and Bryce Harper hit for the cycle. So the Phillies are next back. This time it's going to be at Citi Field. So it's a 7-game homestand. 4 against the Cubs, 3 against the Phillies, and then I believe they go to Toronto. So these 20 games, then they have Boston at the end of it. They do have Kansas City in there as well. But, it's got to be one game at a time, obviously. So, the Phillies. And it's probably going to be the same pitchers that they just faced.
I think you're right, and I think you can feel fairly good about facing the Red Sox because they haven't even scored 300 runs this year. So
Yeah.
I think you guys should feel pretty good about that. The right field porch, if the Brewers can obtain some power before the trade deadline, I'd put them in the driver's seat. I would tend to agree with that. When Contreras gets healthy again, I think you see a little bit more there. But I don't see. I see the Brewers as being a very strong postseason team.
Yes, absolutely.
We have got 7 minutes left because we are on a tight deadline. And I'll tell everybody why we're on a tight deadline. Because the Mets game starts in 23 minutes?
Yeah, if anybody had access, check out the radar for me because Mets got rained out yesterday. That's why they have a doubleheader tomorrow, by the way. And you know how hard it is to sweep doubleheaders.
Yep.
So that makes it even more tough for the Mets to get on a run. But there is rain in the forecast early, so it might not start on time. I always check the radar when the Mets are back in New York because Mother Nature and Citi Field don't like each other. But there's rain in the forecast right now. I don't know if there's a delay to start the game or not. So
fair. The Mets will have trouble with the Phils for this reason. The Phils have learned how to win at a playoff level. Winning in the regular season is one thing. Postseason baseball is a different animal. That's true. And the Phillies are going to have an opportunity to go further in the postseason this year than most postseasons. And I'll be honest with you why, and it's one reason, and it's defense. Last year, their defense was terrible. It was the one thing that was holding them out of taking on the Dodgers, beating the Dodgers. It was the one thing that was going to change everything for the entire calculus of the Phillies was their defense. And they are doing better this year.
Better. And also just going back, sorry, to the Phillies.
Yep.
They have a combination of two absolute dynamite aces that when you get into a 7-game series and you have the off days where you can, use Christopher Sanchez and Zach Wheeler and, Aaron Nola's a wild card who can give you quality innings. And obviously they have a stud reliever. Can't count the Phillies out. Everyone said their window's over because they're getting older with Trey Turner and Schwarber and Realmuto. Well, yeah, they fired their manager in season. They have the best record in baseball since they hired Don Mattingly. They're 4 games over 500, but they were 10 games under 500 at one point. They did what the Mets needed to do: make a move, make a splash, spice things up. And, whether they make the playoffs or not, I don't know. But if they do, they have what you want. They got experienced guys, power slugging hitters, a great closer, and two stud aces.
Agreed. Agreed. Christopher Sanchez is just lights out, amazing, absolute, absolute gas to watch him. Zach Wheeler's the same. So I'm right there
Yeah,
behind that. And I love the fact that their defense has gotten better because everybody likes to argue that defense doesn't win championships in baseball, but it does. It
absolutely.
does. It does in basketball. It does in football. We know that. It does in baseball too. And if you can't stop another team from scoring, look at what Stearns was saying. Look at what um,
Do I have to?
everybody was saying, right in the beginning of the year. It was about run prevention. It wasn't about run creation. It was about run prevention. He was all over everything saying that. So
Yeah.
it is definitely something to talk about. Obviously, away from the Mets,
hmm
which game are you going to pay attention to most this week coming up? Which series?
I had my obviously the Indians are the Indians. Did I really just call them that? The Guardians are facing, I believe, the White Sox.
Mhm.
I mean, they're in a virtual tie for the AL Central lead. So that's where I got my eyes on. Not that it's June 23rd today. So it's not like it's, the September must win games, but two teams that are tied and they're figuring each other out, trying to get used to one another. That's where I got my eyes on, other than the Met game. What
That's
about you,
good.
Gene?
I'm watching the Dodgers and A's at the end of the week. I
Okay.
want to see. I want to see. I want to see what the A's can do against the Dodgers pitching staff because they're expected to have the top of the rotation go through. I want to see what the A's hitters can do because you haven't seen a test like that yet. The A's hitters are incredible. Was Zach Gelof's on what a 23, 24 game hitting streak right now? Just doing absolutely lights out things. His his scores and everything that I follow and the Spark scores and everything with Zach Gelof are absolutely incredible. The guys breaking out in front of us, we're seeing it, and I want to see what they do against that pitching. So for me, it's going to be the Dodgers and A's.
Yeah, I'll have my eyes on that one too, because A's are interesting. A lot of X factors, a lot of variables, and the Dodgers are the Dodgers. So I like that.
Yep,
I'll be
absolutely,
watching with you.
absolutely. Okay, guys, we got 3 minutes left. What name? I need to see you guys start voting on a name because we haven't had anybody yet come up with it. Can the A's win the West? Yes.
Yeah, we talked about that. A's
Legit,
definitely can win the
legit. They
West.
can win the West.
You know what
It
we
has
should do? I was just thinking about this. We've got into a couple submissions, but it's a tight window for the 4 or 5 submissions. Maybe we should run a poll. You know, on,
Hey, I'm there with you on it.
on
Let's do it.
I mean, we can extend this podcast till 6:50, but we're not going to get many more submissions. It might be one or two, but I think the fairest thing to do, and we can talk about this off air, is to get out a poll and pick, some of these names that our audience have suggested, and also throw in a couple others.
The Nomad is in the house. What's happening, Nomad?
Um,
Yeah, and I like that. PEI test says run it for a week. Yeah, let's run a poll for a week. Let's see what happens.
yeah,
Let's
I think we should
let's do
we
that.
should do
I think
that.
that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, give your give yourself a plug.
Oh, the good old plug. Yeah, if you see my name on the screen that you're watching on right now, not sure if you could just hit that, the Shea Hello newsletter, but hit that subscribe button. I am a weekly Mets newsletter, Monday through Friday, midnight publish, not just recaps. We got evergreen pieces, we got analysis, we got pictures and videos. Your eyes will not just be reading a screen of just words. Insights, analysis. I have Diamond Dialogues as a feature as well. Howard Johnson's been on it. Terry Collins has been on it.
Yep.
Um, Jim Duquette has been on it. I'm forgetting a lot of people as well, but yeah, hit that subscribe button. The Shea Hello newsletter, everything is free, and we're close to 1,000, buddy. I'm almost at 1,000, 4.5 months. So
Get it. Get it. I'm proud of you, man. I think it's fantastic. Hey, for those of you that don't know, I'm Pete. I'm the baseball nerd. I would love it if you guys would subscribe. I do all kinds of crazy stuff with uh, deep stats. I've developed the Spark score. I've developed the Spade score. Comes in really handy when you start talking about fantasy and you start talking about building up a roster of what am I expecting to see from somebody. I've got the contact suppression rate built out now, and that's working. It's given me some scores and some things to look forward to on the Cy Young vote. I just put a piece out on that on my site this week. So check it out. If you guys haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you would. I'm Pete. I'm the baseball nerd. He's Shea Hello. He's of the Shea Hello newsletter. Give him a follow. He's fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining in. I appreciate it. This
we'll
is
run that poll.
fantastic.
It's been a pleasure.
This has been fantastic. We will do it again. We will send out another notice when we're going to go live, you guys, and hopefully everybody comes back and we can keep these conversations going in. The eye test, a non-statistical look at a game we all love. The eye test, give him a follow. Give him a follow. He is fantastic, actually. And I appreciate you saying that. It's definitely something to be proud of. The eye test, I am subscribed working. So Spark content is for paid subscribers. Jump in as soon as you pay that subscription, then you get a welcome email and it's got all the links for all the paid stuff in there. You guys, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Everybody, thanks for coming in, and we will see you soon. Say hello. Peace.